Hello, EN201. On this week's discussion, we're focusing on the 5 short story elements. You all have been given an assignment to complete where you will read a short story and apply the 5 elements. The 5 elements are generally seen in movies and in longer pieces of fiction. In addition, I want you all to focus on literary terms such as foreshadowing and theme. Theme is a really big deal because I'm preparing you all to get ready to do literary analysis. And in doing literary analysis, sometimes you may focus on just a theme, which is the overarching idea a piece of work can give. We also want to look at stereotypes. Oftentimes, characters are stereotyped or are faced with stereotypes which lead into their conflict. Man versus man, man versus nature, man versus self, and man versus society are the 4 types of conflict that you would generally see, but from time to time there are other type of conflicts. Those terms were given to you in a document or non-grade. Nonetheless, I want us also to be focused on questions about the elements of fiction. If you all have your textbook, you can read on page 15 that kind of gives you an overarching idea about why we question certain things in fiction. Nonetheless, this is why I give you terms and why every week I try to give you just a little bit more to apply to the short stories that we're reading. For instance, we look at what happens in the story. What's the general plot? Okay? Who is the narrator? And how is the narrator essential to the work that you're reading? In some of those short stories, the narrator is very essential to the work of fiction. What about the characters, the protagonist or the antagonist? Okay? Where is the setting of the story? How does the setting affect the outcome of the story? In addition, we also want to talk about tone and mood. Is the piece sad, happy, depressing? There again, all of these different terminology and these ideas form together to give us the work in itself. Okay? How can we build logical arguments, or how do the pieces that we read relate to real life? I want you all to start thinking about literary analysis because that's what we're working towards. You all being able to write a sound literary analysis. Pretty much, a literary analysis is going to always ask you the how and the why of a poem or a short story or a novel, even a play. To be able to successfully analyze the literature, you have to think about why authors make specific choices about why this character reacts a certain way, or how does this character play into either stereotype or archetype. Archetypes are common characters that we see, such as the villain or the heroine. Those are common archetypes that play out. Okay? The woman who rises to the top, okay, or the man who was on top and hits rock bottom. These are just kind of common themes that we see all the time in short stories. In addition, your essay should point out the author's choice and attempt to explain the significance. Another way of thinking about a literary analysis is to consider a piece of literature from your own perspective. Rather than thinking about the author's intentions, you can develop your own argument based on any single term, such as characters. You may look at a character and argue why that character resembles somebody in real life. You may look at perhaps how something is parallel. For instance, those of you who are True Blood fans, such as I am, True Blood focus a lot on the evils of prejudice. X-Men also does that for us. When you're thinking about William Faulkner, who is a classic American writer, a lot of his pieces look at the decline of the Old South. Okay, we may think about representation of a person, place, or thing, such as a character. We also look at metaphors and similes, pretty much how they use to play out certain actions that take place in the story. I'm just trying to give you all a working idea of when we're thinking about a literary analysis, what specific thing we'll be focused on. Okay? I'm going to help guide you through the process, but I want you all right now to start thinking about developing an analysis on some of the short stories that we read. Next week, we will delve a little bit deeper because I'm going to assign you all topics and kind of give you a few different things to play with when looking at analyzing a piece of literature. So I hope that I have been giving you all works of fiction that you like, because the more that you like a piece, the more likely you will be able to pick it apart and give me a great perspective. Just the same, we want to think about the structure of the writing. Does it take us from the author's point of view? Does it take us from the character's point of view? And I should have given you points of view in your literary terms as well. Nonetheless, I just want to kind of prepare you all for what's to come. I'm just checking my notes here to make sure that I have covered everything for this week. Food for thought. Think about the theme for collective treasures and survivor type. Of course, because you all are working on short story assignments, you all already have come up with a theme with the short story that you all will be presenting in class. That will be your little quick quiz on Wednesday. I'll give you exactly 2 minutes to write down what you think the thing of collective treasure is and for survivor type. See you all in class on Wednesday.